success. Can a small group of people that are determined to make change, can we make change? And the answer is yes, because it's not just the people in this room. We are part of a larger movement, and we know this through scientific polls. I didn't have all the time and space in the world to put all the poll data that I would like to, but it's interesting that in 2008, University of Maryland's World of Public Opinion poll polled over 6,000 people in 17 nations outside the US, and majorities in only 9 of 17 countries believe Al-Qaeda carried out the attacks. So that's roughly about half of the world, of the industrialized world, non-USA, only half of those people believe that Al-Qaeda did it. I'll tell you a personal anecdote. I've been just writing my butt off and trying to get stuff on the web and in progressive outlets and try to slip stuff into Huffington Post. Although they edited, I'll talk about this later. They edited out the links to Truth Gathering after a couple of days. But as many of you might know, I did a piece with Alternet in 2006 that led to me learning about Dr. Graham here. And so I just recently did another piece with Alternet, and they allowed me to get a little bit of 9/11 truth back into Alternet through a piece that was critical of Zionism in Israel and the Gaza Flotilla massacre. And I just went back and forth with my editor, Josh Holland, there, and I just couldn't believe some of the stuff he was saying about polls, because he kept on saying stuff like, dude, 96% of America believes Al-Qaeda did it. And I said, what is your data? That is completely unprecedented. You sound like you're completely, and so he was. It took him a couple days. He was like, I don't have the time to show you the sources on that. I was like, this is irresponsible journalism. My editor is saying these outrageous things. And so after pressing him, he got back to me and he showed me a poll that said only 4% of the population, according to one poll, believe that the CIA did 9/11. So his assumption was that the other 96% therefore believe the official story. See, it was faulty logic. You can't assume that you can't speak for that other 96%. So anyway, the last time they did polls in the USA are very interesting too. 40% of Americans, according to Zogby's poll in 2006, believe that there's been a cover-up around 9/11. So therefore, the very pragmatic part of my brain says, there might be something here. If the progressives and the true patriots could get together, there might be a way to impact this data into some sort of political change, whether it be electoral or something else, which will be determined. However, as we know, there's lots of censorship and there's lots of repression coming down. 9/11 is the political taboo issue of the day. You really risk a lot by embracing this issue, and yet we do it out of a love for the truth that's in our hearts. And for me personally, it's not just one issue, because when you look under the hood at 9/11, you suddenly learn a lot about U.S. military, defense contracting. You learn a lot about not just CIA's relationship to the 9/11 patsies, but also CIA's relationship to the pedophile scandal and other CIA's overthrowing of democracies in Latin America and Asia, and you learn more about the legacy of imperialism. And then, of course, you're in a great position to analyze the unregulated Wall Street world that enjoyed free reign under Democrats and Republicans. And you realize that there is a superstructure of power that we're going up against when we talk about truth issues, and this is why, from the liberal media to the conservative media, we have very few allies in the mass media. And yet it almost doesn't matter. Why? Because just through grassroots organizing, through DVD duplication and the internet, we have impacted public opinion. So we know that we're being listened to. Part of what we are doing, and part of what I like to tell people, is that you have to realize that we're also up against the philosophical zeitgeist that's out there. We're in a time of extreme crisis, and I know this is something of an oversimplification of what postmodernism is, but every time I think that I got postmodernism wrong, postmodernism proves me right. Like Richard Rorty down in UVA will say something like, yes, we don't believe in the truth, and we do believe that it's pure subjective. Pure subjectivism is the rule of the day. So postmodernism to me is this thing that I've always had an aversion to, both with my heart and my head. I've seen the neocon right seem to capitalize on this. The whole war on terror, I think, banks on the confusion, the relativism of postmodernism. So in postmodernism, truth is out of fashion. We're left with just people's subjective opinions. But 9/11 Truth seeks to give people a new way to stand up to the evils of empire, and it really is running contrary to the philosophical spirit of the time. So that means that we really have to be more than just scientists and engineers, but we have to be philosophers. You know, really the truth itself is sort of calling us to really be new people, you know, to really kind of like, to let the old go. And that's what the challenge of this, I think, is to not be who we were, but to be renewed. You know, a spirit of renewal has to come. We have to be new human beings, new people of Earth, new people of America, and so let's talk about the newness. I have boiled it all down to 3 simple virtues: peace, truth, and freedom. These are the ideas that unite us. These ideas, I've seen them living. This is not a theory. It comes out of 9 years of activism. And we have great potential here. The Art of War is a very interesting book for political strategists and for really anyone who's trying to organize people. Because Art of War says that a small army can defeat a larger army if the small army has the fullness. The fullness is a unity of purpose from the privates to the generals. Now, of course, I'm not a militarist, so a military analogy is a little bit of a stretch, but this is not just about violence, it's about human organization. It shows how the Viet Cong defeated the US war machine. A small guerrilla army defeated a gigantic, unmotivated, drafted bunch of working class troops and officers from privilege. In the same way, the American Revolutionary Army defeated a larger army from Britain because we had a unity of purpose. It's really about motivation. So again, we've got this burning fire in our hearts. It's a fire of truth. It's a fire of love. The spiritual among us would say that truth is God, and God is truth.
Can we say justice?
You could say, yeah, I would say that those things are connected. Hegel and Lenin would say that truth is concrete. So let's talk about fire. It's almost like fire is a really interesting model for this. Fire is viral. You know, fire doesn't come from a hierarchy. Fire spreads. And when that fire, people see that fire. People see the light in our eyes, the passion. And I really appreciate, I think another thing that Luke said about speaking, or no, I think it was Ian. Yeah, when Ian said that we've got to watch the way that we speak, because if we speak with anger, then people get turned off. We speak with accusation, people get turned off. But when we speak with empathy and compassion and listening, then people get turned on. When we empathize with people's fear and their pain about this issue, then we have something. When we talk later tonight and tomorrow, I want to hear about kind of like the bibliography of our movement. If there was 1 or 2 books that you think that the truth movement should really read, I want to hear about it. My first book, not just Art of War, but is this book. It's called The Starfish and the Spider, and it relates to this image of fire. And this is actually a business book, or a business organization book. But it's also influenced by a kind of an anarchist libertarian philosophy, in which it says that hierarchies are the old model, and that decentralized structures are actually the things that are unbeatable. They use some really interesting metaphors. The Apache were never conquered by the conquistadors. The Apache were still running around in the 1920s.
Yes.
The Incas and the Aztecs were, however, were hierarchical structures, and the people just lost it once their tribal leader was conquered by Cortez and Pizarro. And so the Incas and the Aztecs, they were a spider model. They were, if you cut off the head of a spider, the spider dies. However, the Apache were a starfish model. You cut off an arm off a starfish, and the star grows a new arm. I think this is one of the reasons that the